This guy walked up to a woman who was sitting on the Chicago train, dumped gasoline on her head, and she fought him off and ran to the other side of the train. He lit the bottle on fire and walked towards her with it and immolated her. I believe she got around 60% burns, which she's currently in critical condition and has been now for a couple of weeks. And hopefully she survives, but there is a very high probability of fatality in this. This guy was in some kind of institution and he punched a nurse in the face. I think they said that it shattered her orbital socket. They let him out because this is what these DEI Democrat judges do. And he immediately decides to go fill up a bottle of gas and immolate a random woman. We've already had the Laken Riley story, and we all outraged over it, and nothing happened. We had the Irina Zarutska story, and we all outraged over it, and nothing happened. Now we have the Bethany McGee story. There's not going to be any riots. There's not going to be any protests. There's not going to be a change in the judicial system. Trump's indictments are not going to work. I'm sorry. Spare me. These politicians who are saying, trust us, wait one more time. I don't know what must be done to actually bring about a change because it just keeps happening. And while Trump is getting some things done that I think are great, the big picture right now for the average person, it's all still just falling apart no matter how hard we are pushing back. So what is the answer when we get more and more stories like this? What is the answer?
I mean, the biggest problem we have is the leftist judges that are in the country that believe in things like restorative justice, that don't believe that people are responsible for their behavior or that it's acceptable to put people that have committed terrible violent crimes in jail.
I think, I was talking to a reporter today who was asking me questions. I was doing an interview on some internet personalities. They always say, never talk to reporters, but I'm kind of like, whatever, dude. They're going to do what they're going to do. Put yourself in the conversation. It is what it is. But I pointed out that it is Field of Greens from Brickhouse Nutrition. This is good stuff, my friends. We got it right here. It tastes great. I got strawberry lemonade. It's got your veggies. You drink them. Do doctors have Black Friday sales, my friends? The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition do. They just announced their Black Friday 30% off sale. The biggest sale of the year. The most impressive health and nutrition products in the industry are now 30% off. Like 30% off creatine designed just for women to help women look leaner, in shape, and toned without extra dieting or exercise. Or even 30% off Field of Greens, the only superfruit and vegetable drink shown in university study to actually slow aging. Only Field of Greens promises better health results. Your doctor will notice every Brickhouse product from Better Sleep to Superior Collagen is 30% off. But hurry, because these Black Friday deals go fast. Visit brickhousesale.com. Save 30%. That's brickhousesale.com. One more time, brickhousesale.com. Check it out. I'm a big fan. It's good stuff. In this conversation, I said, I don't think there's a conversation around the future of the political space with conservative commentators and podcasts. The reporter from the Washington Post was talking to me, said, Joe, their question was like, what do you think about these personalities on the right, like Joe Rogan and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's really funny that you call Joe Rogan right wing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I think the reality is people don't change their minds for the most part. What we're seeing with this is not going to be solved by modern politics. It is a product of the past 20 years of politics. Young people now growing up with this will have extreme political views. I don't mean they're going to be extremists. I'm saying you are going to get on the left ignorance because they're not going to see this. And on the right, they're going to say Deus Vult. My point is, we vote for change. You're not going to get it because right now, the body politic of Chicago is we support this. Now, obviously, if you show the story to the average person, they're going to say a criminal should never happen. But if you go to the average person in Chicago and say, do you think that the criminal justice system is wrongly imprisoning black men? They'll say yes. Do you think we need to have restorative justice and social programs? They will say yes. They will vote for this again. Young men are going to grow up seeing this, and they're going to scream Deus Vult, and they're going to vote very, very differently. So I don't think the solution rests upon us today saying something like, hey, we better go campaign and knock on doors, because the average person isn't going to see this, know, or care. I think the real issue is you do a show like this, young people see these stories, and when they grow up, their views are informed by it. So there's going to be a shift. And I've talked about the fertility crisis for some time, but oh boy, In talking about, there's like some viral story right now about this trans kid on the cover of Nat Geo who is now non-binary, asexual, and has just abandoned the whole trans thing. And it's like, well, you castrate somebody, they become eunuchs, they're going to be asexual. That whole gender ideology stuff is breaking apart. But so long as the left keeps championing anti-baby politics, conservatives are going to win the political race. And the next 20 years, you are going to get Groyper Deus Vult policies.
But I understand the point that you're making, but I don't know that there's actually going to be a majority in at least in the next 20 years. And will the country even resemble the country that we live in now if we have to wait for a whole generation before we get actual conservatives?
And civil war. Because you're going to get young dudes. I mean, seriously, this story is so insanely shocking that it's like the fourth or fifth story in the past couple of months of some young white woman being mercilessly killed in some horrifying way. It's not just a story of a woman was robbed and shot. It is not even just a horrifying story of a woman getting raped. You have with Lake and Riley, and forgive me if children are listening, but a woman who's fighting off a rapist gets bludgeoned to death in a brutal manner. You get Irina Zarutska stabbed and left to bleed out on this train as people watched. And you have Bethany McGee, who was immolated on a train. These are graphic, gruesome, terroristic murders. And it is not just a guy stole her purse and killed her in the process. It is malicious evil with the intent to cause maximum pain. Yeah. And that's terrifying. When a young man from Chicago sees this, if there is not, I'll put it this way. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And that is not just a statement about a government that resists change. It is about an immovable object. For many activists over the last 10 years, I've heard this statement, especially with Occupy Wall Street. Their sentiment there was, if the government doesn't allow us to implement social reforms, the system will fall apart. And that means not just, hey, we want food banks, hey, we want healthcare. That means when you keep getting stories of career criminals being released and then torturing young women to death, eventually, it's not so much violent revolution you have to worry about, it's vigilante justice. How long do we have to wait until some dude puts on a ski mask, hangs out on the trains, and just starts killing people like you get with the New York vigilante? Remember that story, what's his face?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what does that turn into? You will get neighborhood watches. You are going to get vigilante gangs that are going to go around, and there's going to be shootouts in Chicago. Or nothing happens, people flee the city, and it falls apart. But either way, right now it seems that the city is intent on continually voting for these policies. I think the likely scenario then is people are going to flee, and they're going to you're going to get geographic hyperpolarization. I want to stress in this regard, Nick Fuentes lives in Chicago. When you see what's going in Chicago, I am not surprised you get the rise of an individual like Nick Fuentes. Now, his comments about Israel, whatever, Hitler, dumb, whatever you want to say. But he's the reason why that message in general is resonating with young people, much to the chagrin of these like Babylon Bee guys and all of the individuals, the neocons that were angry with the debate we had last week. They are ignoring the fact that, one, we have all pointed out that on the issue of Israel, Hitler, whatever the point he's making about Jews, most people don't agree. But young guys are attracted to the overall message because they come from Chicago or they come from urban environments where they see career criminals, largely black men or other minorities, committing crimes like this, and the system will not change, or at least not in the short term.
Don't forget, someone went to Nick's house to kill him.
Right.
And then went to another house and killed other people and a dog. And I think it was this weekend.
Did they do it first? They killed.
Maybe it was the other way around. Yeah.
They killed people and then went to his house.
This weekend there was in Chicago 300+ person riot. I think there was one death there at a tree lighting.
Yes.
It's mass. Yep. It's pandemonium.
Yep. And it's sad because I'm from Chicago. My wife is from Chicago, and we're having our family Thanksgiving out here, and we're talking about like what has become of our city.
Mm-hmm. Same thing about New York.
And I'll say this too. There's another lesser element to this that I'm curious what you guys think about too. Is I went to the Christmas market last year. We used to go when I was little. Not something we did consistently, but the Chicago Christmas market's a well-known thing by the Picasso sculpture, and there's a bunch of little shops. And you'd walk around, you'd get a little mug, you'd either get mulled wine or hot cocoa. When I went there, it was shoulder to shoulder of non-Americans. It was people who are not from the United States. It was a variety of different migrant groups. And I'm going to put it like this. I largely don't care about, if people want to move here, if we have legal immigration. But I tell you this, there's going to be some dude who's 28, 29 years old, and he's going to be looking around at a bunch of people who don't speak English. He's not able to shop there anymore because it's shoulder to shoulder and everyone's pushing each other around. And he's going to be saying to himself, what happened to my Christmas market? Why can't I give my kids Christmas morning with French toast and maple syrup, go to the Christmas market, walk comfortably, buy a hot dog in a mug, give it to my child and share with them what I had? Why is it now it's being treated like some tourist novelty by people who aren't from here to experience without the same value that I put into it? That's the light side of things. That's why you're getting more of this Groyper stuff. On the hard side of things, you are getting this. How many stories do we have to have of this where nothing's being changed?
I think we're also seeing more a type of concern about Black people, particularly homeless ones, who have mental illness or are drug addicts on the street. I think what plays into these news stories, too, are the races of the people. Just like in the video of the lady getting attacked on the bus prior, it was a Black man stabbing a white woman. There's also like a pretty young white woman being burned to death by this man. But I think people are fleeing from neighborhoods like this, and they fall into further decay and degeneracy. This isn't a nice.
This is downtown. This is the Blue Line train downtown. This is where Pritzker put on his stupid body armor and said, everything's safe here. And then she gets on a Blue Line train and is not just, it's horrifying. He didn't just rob her and kill her.
Yep. This is malicious.
This was, he wanted to destroy life and he wanted her to suffer. This is pure evil in an area that's supposed to be safe. She didn't wander into a dangerous neighborhood on accident.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be seeing white flight from many of these cities where we're seeing high-profile crimes like this perpetrated by guys like this.
But also, like, where do you go? I mean, in Fairfax County on the Reston Trail, which is just like a nice little walking trail in Northern Virginia. It's a suburb of D.C. This guy was arrested November 9th, who attempted to strike a man who was walking on the trail. He was charged with 2 counts of simple assault and larceny, and he was, surprise, surprise, released. Well, 2 days later, he was out there again sexually assaulting women. And yet, repeatedly in Fairfax County, what happens? People are supposed to vote, but then they continually vote for Steve Descano, the progressive Soros-funded prosecutor. They vote for Jay Jones to be the attorney general after he talks about murdering children. And women with children, a majority of them vote for Jay Jones. And what really concerns me is we're told we see these things happening, so we have to go vote. And voting seems futile in many of these places. So the next step is self-defense. And this gets at what Tim was saying about vigilante justice. Well, they're also trying to criminalize self-defense.
Yeah.
There was a woman who was a 7-Eleven clerk. She was working the night shift. This guy comes in, attempts to rob the store, puts her in a chokehold. She somehow manages to get her gun off and shoots this guy and kills him. She's cleared of all charges, but 7-Eleven fires her. And tells her that she doesn't get to have a job anymore because she protected the store and her life.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.